I've been running a baseball and softball academy full-time for over 20 years here in Middle Tennessee. And one of the most important tools that anybody needs to develop their game as a hitter, whether it's softball or baseball, is a good batting tee. I'm sure there's some Cadillac tees out there that are amazing for top-notch, high-level players. But if you're not in high school yet, if you're not driving and you're still trying to work on your game and become a good hitter, and parents, if you're trying to help your young player, whether they're beginning at 5 years old, 6 years old, or they're in the heart of travel ball, 10, 11, 12 years old, trying to make a middle school team, there's only one tee that you should buy. And the reason you're going to buy this tee is because it's the most cost efficient, and it can last and last and last. And with a few simple hacks, you can make it last even longer. All the other tees that I've tried pale in comparison to this tee, and that tee is the MacGregor brand rubber batting tee. Okay, I've got one here, ordered it new. I expect this tee to last, and we're talking about we're taking hundreds of swings off it every day. This tee, I can make this tee last for years. But when you open the box, the MacGregor tee, it comes in a couple pieces. You've got the base, which looks like home plate. You've got the main tube that attaches to the base. And then you have the inserted tube, which the ball sits on. And so when you put these together, you basically take the base. There's a screw right here underneath the main tube. You unscrew it. In the bottom of home plate, or the bottom of the base, you have a little spot where you can squeeze that screw, and the sides of the screw fit right in, so it comes flush with the ground. And now this screw is poking up from the bottom right here, and then the bottom of the base can screw right on that tee. Now, because the screw is being held in place on the bottom, you can just screw it in. Okay, and it doesn't have to be super tight, but you definitely don't want it wobbling around. So there you go. So now you got your base set up. Okay, you can take your tube and you can insert it right here. Now, it's made to fit really snug, so sometimes you need to turn it or give it a little energy to go up and down. Well, I've had a couple dozen of these tees that I've bought over the years to use in the course of 21, 22 years of teaching. I would say 9 out of 10 of them come out of the package, and even a kid could lift them up and down. Okay, now every now and then, depending on humidity or whatever, maybe you got to put your foot on the base and pull to get it higher, or maybe you got to stand up and give it a little energy to push down. But pretty much any kid 9 years old and up is going to be able to take this out of the box, probably put it together without a parent's help, but definitely be able to raise and lower the tee. So that's the tee. Now, what makes this so durable and what makes this the must-have tee, especially for young players? Well, it's made of rubber. You can hit this thing all over the place, and it's pretty hard to break. Now, the one place we do find that these tees will break eventually is if they take a lot of really hard shots to that bottom tube, the main tube, not the insert, right? So when you're taking a lot of hard shots down here, it can sort of start to affect that screw, and it'll actually, the metal plate, right, that keeps the screw in place can start to come back through the rubber. But again, it's rare, and it takes a lot of really hard, aggressive shots on that base. As far as, let's say you have a 9-year-old and you're hitting there, right? Now, you may be doing some drills, you may be trying new things with your swing, and it's typical for 8, 9, 10-year-old trying new things. They'll miss, a foot or two under the ball, and that's the beauty of this tee. Okay, you get some of these Cadillac tees, you get about 2 inches of error, and then below that, you're hitting metal or hard plastic that's going to break instantly. If you want to extend the life of your tee, right, you want to spend that $40 and you don't want to have to spend another $40 for a year or two, especially if this is for personal use at home in the garage or in your own personal batting cage, there's a few hacks that I use. The first is little duct tape, right? So where this tee is right here, at the top, I'll take a little bit of duct tape and I'll start wrapping the top with a few levels of duct tape. And what that's going to do is just going to give that rubber just a little security, because after you hit it a lot, you know, hundreds of swings, this rubber tip right here, if you're hitting the ball properly, the bat will clip that rubber depending on, you know, if you're going backside, it'll hit it more, okay? But that little rubber will start to have some cracks in it. So putting just a couple layers of duct tape around it will help preserve that at least for a little bit longer. Now, you might ask, well, why am I going to get a tee that the rubber, after several hundred hits or 1,000 hits, is going to start to show cracks? Well, the beauty of this tee and the way we can extend its life is these tubes, even though you can see that's ridged right here, and it tells you clearly this is the side that is intended to be sticking up out of the tee, the tee works just as well upside down. So the bottom of the tube, we could put the top, what's made to be the top, in, push it down just like normal, and then we've got a ball, and that tee is going to work just as good. You could start with that, and again, I would put a little duct tape on that just to give it just a little more security. I usually start with these tees the right way with a little duct tape right here. And the beauty of this tee, though, is this insert is roughly 2 feet long. Any young player, you really can get away with probably 2/3 of that. A young player, you could probably use half of it, okay? Which means that I could take that top off and still be fine, which is what we're going to do after the course of, say, 6 months, a year. This top starts to wear out. I've duct taped it. It's come apart a little bit. Well, I can just take some scissors, or I can take a knife from the toolbox, and I can cut the affected part off and now have a brand new cylinder, which I put a little duct tape on. Now, I do want to show you how I go about fixing that tube. So this is a tee that I've been using probably for the last 6 months, okay? And as you can see, I haven't even turned it over yet. That's brand new. I've just been using this top. Okay, I've been adding some duct tape, and again, 6 months. So what I'm going to do, you can sort of see here that I'm getting some cracks in the tape, some cracks in the rubber. I don't know how far down that this tee's compromised, but what I'm going to do is take my scissors, and I'm just going to rip away this duct tape. Took a little time because honestly, 6 months of repairs, just keeping that tip from getting too abused. You can see here that the crack has gone down probably the length of my thumb. So we're talking about, you know, speed up to the point where I've got 2 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down right below the last part, and then I'm just going to cut it off there. And again, I'm doing this with a pretty dull pair of scissors. All right, and you know, that's just my first attempt. I can sort of see there's a little bit raising up here. Okay, and now that's the, you know, the smallest diameter of the tube is right there. And so it's going to fit a ball, and even on an adult player that's 6'1", you've still got enough tee left after taking those 2 inches off to get a belly-high fastball right there, okay? Now, I could keep using this side, especially for baseball, though. Softball probably still work. Let me grab one. So here's a 12-inch softball. Still works right there. Just level it with the top and just come around. You can do it tight, you can do it loose, but just gives the tip of that cylinder just a little support. Okay? And now you're ready to go right there. So there's the example of a quick fix that I'm having to do 6 months after starting this tee. And, you know, I hope to get another, you know, few months out of it, 6 months out of it before I have to flip it over and do it again. And especially parents, if you've got a beginner, you know, somebody in coach pitch or in little league, this tee is going to last you for years, and those little hacks are going to keep that tee usable long into the future, okay? And what I like about that price point, you've seen some of my other videos where we can do some drills that incorporates 2 tees, okay? We actually have a drill that incorporates 3 tees, all right? So you can get 3 of these tees for, you know, about $100, and, you know, you'll never have to buy tees again. Your kid can go from 6 years old to 18 and probably use those 3 tees over and over. As far as the inserts, okay, I've showed you how to repair, and you can take inches off at a time. You can flip them over, but sometimes, you know, we get one that just, you know, it's gone too far. You've clipped it. You just can't get it high enough, okay? The benefit of these MacGregor tees is online, you can find these inserts that are being sold separately. At one point, I bought 6 inserts, and I think they were like $8 a piece. So, you know, I already had 4 or 5 tees with bases. I basically bought brand new tees with $12 a piece, right? And to this day, I've still got some of those inserts sitting over there. I know you can get on there and buy 1 insert now for, you know, $15, which that's worth it. So this is the tee I get. I could not heartily recommend it anymore. The MacGregor rubber tee, get one, use the hacks, and yeah, you're ready to go. You're ready to work on your game.